The asteroid field hung silent and vast, jagged rocks drifting endlessly in the light of distant stars. Inside the dimly lit cockpit of the Phantom Blade, Commander Alex, Ghost, Carter studied the holographic display with unflinching focus. His Navy SEAL team sat quietly behind him, each member locked into their roles with the discipline of seasoned operators. Scout ship transmitting Imperial codes. We're clear so far, Mei Lin said, her voice soft but steady. Her fingers danced across the controls, eyes scanning the streams of data flowing across her screen. How long until they notice it's not their crew on board? Sofia Vega, Alex's second-in-command, asked. She leaned against the bulkhead, her calm demeanor masking the tension in her eyes. Not long, May replied. We're borrowing time here. Alex gave a small nod, his jaw tightening. Borrowed time's all we need. The Phantom Blade, their stealth ship, hung in the shadow of an asteroid, its systems running cold to avoid detection. The stolen Imperial scout ship, still broadcasting legitimate clearance codes, floated a short distance away, bait for the enemy patrol. It had been a bold move, hijacking the vessel in the outer rim. Bold, but necessary. Incoming transmission, May said suddenly. Her voice dipped lower. It's from the flagship. A rich, resonant voice filled the cockpit, heavy with disdain. This is Grand Admiral Kale Threx of the Galactic Empire. To the primitive beings known as humans, your attack on our scout vessel has not gone unnoticed. The Empire formally declares war upon your kind. The team exchanged quick glances, the weight of those words settling over them like a cold shroud. Alex kept his gaze fixed on the display. You will be crushed beneath the might of our forces, Threx continued. Your resistance, if one can even call it that, is futile. Prepare for extinction. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only the hum of the ship's systems in its wake. Well, Ryan, Tank, Walker muttered, breaking the silence. That's a hell of a way to start the day. Sophia shot him a look, but Alex cut in before she could speak. Focus. This changes nothing. We knew this fight was coming, now it's just official. He gestured to the map. May, what do we know about their movements? Intercepting comms now, she said, her voice clipped. Streams of data flooded her screen as she worked, her hands moving with practiced precision. Their patrols are tightening. They've marked Earth's colonies as primary targets. Supply lines are their weak link, but they're heavily fortified. Of course they are, Sophia murmured. She crossed her arms, her expression dark. The Empire doesn't take chances. They also don't expect resistance that matters, Alex said. That's our edge. He tapped the map, highlighting the patrol's current trajectory. We get this intel to command, they'll know where to hit. First, we need to get out of this sector. Tank leaned forward, his tone light despite the tension. And how do we do that without becoming space dust? We lead them in, Alex said. His voice was calm, deliberate. The scout ship's still transmitting friendly codes. We'll draw them into the asteroid field. Their big ships can't maneuver here. Sophia raised an eyebrow. You're baiting the Empire? Not us, Alex said. The scout ship. We disappear while they're distracted. A grin tugged at the corner of Tank's mouth. Classic Ghost. Always making M chase shadows. Shadows keep us alive, Alex replied. Let's move. May quickly reprogrammed the scout ship's systems, sending out a distress signal masked as an engine failure. The decoy drifted deeper into the asteroid field, its lights flickering as if systems were failing. On her screen, the Imperial patrol shifted course. They're taking the bait, May said. Moving to intercept. Good, Alex said. Stand by. The Phantom Blade remained motionless, its systems running silent as the SEAL team watched the red markers inch closer on the display. The tension in the cockpit was palpable, every second stretching into an eternity. They're scanning the scout ship, May whispered. Her fingers hovered over the controls, ready to act. Hold steady, Alex ordered. His voice was calm, measured, even as adrenaline thrummed beneath his skin. The lead Imperial fighter closed in, its sleek frame glinting in the faint starlight. Seconds ticked by. Then, without warning, the patrol broke formation. "They're moving deeper into the field," May said, her relief barely audible. "No," Alex said. "Full power to engines. Get us out of here." The Phantom blade roared to life, its stealth systems giving way to raw speed. May navigated through the treacherous asteroid field with precision, the ship weaving between massive rocks with hair-raising agility. Behind them, the Imperial patrol scrambled, their attention split between the decoy and the escaping vessel. "We've got movement," May said. "They've picked up our trail." "Can they catch us?" Sophia asked. "Not in this terrain," May replied, her focus unwavering. "But they're trying." "Let them try," Alex said. He leaned forward, watching the display. "They'll only waste fuel chasing ghosts." The ship shot through the final cluster of asteroids, emerging into open space just as the last Imperial fighter lost its bearing. May adjusted their course, setting them on a direct path to the nearest human outpost. "Patrol's disengaged," she said. "We're clear." "Nice flying," Sophia said, her voice lighter now. Even Tank gave a low whistle of approval. Alex allowed himself a brief moment to breathe before turning back to the team. "Good work. But this is just the beginning. We've got intel command needs. We deliver it, we plan our next move." "And what about the Empire?" Tank asked. "They're not gonna take this lightly." Alex's expression hardened. "Let them come. They declared this war. We'll make sure they regret it." Aboard the Imperial flagship Eclipse, Grand Admiral Kale Threx stood before a massive holographic display, his gaze fixed on the asteroid field. "The patrol lost them," a junior officer reported, his voice trembling slightly. "The humans escaped." Threx's jaw tightened, but his tone remained cold. "The humans are resourceful. But resourcefulness is not strength. They'll overestimate themselves, and when they do, we will crush them." The officer nodded quickly, though doubt lingered in his eyes. Threx ignored it, turning back to the display. "Increase patrols along their escape vector. And inform the fleet. This game is over." He allowed himself a thin smile, though unease crept into his thoughts. Humanity, it seemed, was not as insignificant as he'd assumed. Back aboard the Phantom blade, Alex stared at the endless expanse of stars, his mind already on the battles ahead. "They think they know us," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. "But they have no idea what they've started." Sophia stepped up beside him. "We'll show them," she said simply. Alex nodded, his resolve firm. One mission at a time. The Phantom blade approached outpost Epsilon, one of humanity's hidden strongholds nestled in the shadow of a desolate moon. From a distance, the base looked unremarkable, an assortment of camouflaged hangars and domed structures blending seamlessly into the lunar surface. But beneath its unassuming exterior, Epsilon was a hive of strategic activity, the nerve center for covert operations against the Galactic Empire. "Incoming transmission," Mei Lin announced, her fingers deftly working the console. "They're challenging our ID. Patching through now." A gruff voice crackled over the comms. "Unidentified vessel, state your designation and purpose." Alex leaned forward, keeping his tone calm but firm. "This is Commander Alex Carter, Navy SEALs. Authorization code Alpha Delta 1479. We're carrying high-priority intel for command." There was a pause, then the voice returned, slightly less hostile. "Code confirmed. You're cleared for entry. Dock at Bay 3. Welcome back, Commander." The Phantom blade slid into the outpost hangar, its engines powering down with a low hum. As the team descended the boarding ramp, they were greeted by Captain Ilara Novak, a hardened veteran with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Commander Carter," Novak said, extending a hand. "Heard you stirred up the hornet's nest out there." "That's putting it lightly," Alex replied, shaking her hand. "We've got intel the Empire won't want us to have. We need to get it to command immediately." Novak nodded, motioning for them to follow. "Briefing room's ready." Let's move. The briefing room was a stark contrast to the chaos outside, its walls lined with monitors displaying tactical data, fleet movements, and colony status updates. Alex uploaded the intercepted Imperial data, and holographic projections of enemy fleet deployments lit up the center of the room. This is everything we pulled from their comms, May began, standing beside Alex. The Empire's targeting our outer colonies first. They're planning to sever supply lines and isolate Earth. These are the fleet's current positions. Novak studied the map, her expression grim. They're hitting us where it hurts. If they take the colonies, Earth won't hold out for long. They're confident, Alex said, his tone sharp. Overconfident. They think we're weak, uncoordinated. That gives us an opening. Sophia stepped forward, pointing to a cluster of red markers on the map. These are their main supply routes. If we can disrupt their logistics, they'll lose momentum. Their fleets can't operate without fuel and munitions. Tank leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Sounds simple enough. Hit the supply lines, cripple the fleet. The tricky part is surviving long enough to pull it off. Novak looked at Alex. What's your plan? Alex took a deep breath, the weight of the mission pressing down on him. We target their refueling stations. Specifically Station 47. It's their largest depot in this sector, heavily fortified but critical. Take it out, and they're grounded. Novak raised an eyebrow. And how do you plan to get close to a station crawling with Imperial forces? May smirked. We've got their scout ship codes. It's risky, but if we play it right, we can get in undetected. It's not just about getting in, Alex said. We'll need to plant charges on their fuel reserves and disable their communications. The goal isn't just destruction, it's chaos. They need to think this is part of a larger offensive, force them to spread themselves thin. Novak considered the plan, then nodded slowly. It's bold. Reckless even. But it just might work. Reckless is our specialty, Tank said with a grin. Alex shot him a look but didn't argue. We'll need additional support. Can Epsilon spare any resources? Novak hesitated. We're stretched thin as it is, but I'll see what I can do. Just don't get your hopes up. Preparations began immediately. The hangar buzzed with activity as technicians loaded equipment onto the Phantom Blade. Sophia oversaw the inventory, double-checking the explosives and ensuring their weapons were in top condition. Everything's accounted for, she said, handing Alex a data pad. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Good, Alex replied. He glanced around the hangar, his team moving with quiet efficiency. Despite the odds, there was no hesitation in their actions. This was what they trained for. As Alex turned to leave, Novak approached him. A word, Commander? He nodded, stepping aside. Novak's expression was serious, her voice low. I won't sugarcoat this. If you fail, we lose more than just a depot. The Empire will know we're coming for their supply lines. They'll tighten security, make it nearly impossible to strike again. I understand, Alex said. But if we don't act now, we'll lose the colonies, and Earth won't stand a chance. Novak studied him for a moment, then sighed. You're right. Just make sure this counts. I will, Alex said firmly. Hours later, the Phantom Blade slipped out of Epsilon's hangar, its engines a whisper against the vast silence of space. The stolen Imperial scout ship codes were active, broadcasting their presence as an authorized vessel. For now, they were invisible to the enemy. How long until we reach Station 47? Alex asked, leaning over May's console. 2 hours at this speed, she replied. Plenty of time to review the plan. Alex straightened, addressing the team. This is it. We infiltrate, plant the charges, and get out. No heroics, no unnecessary risks. Stick to the plan, and we'll make it back in one piece. Sophia nodded. And if something goes wrong? It won't, Alex said, his tone leaving no room for doubt. But if it does, we adapt. Just like always. The team settled into their roles, the hum of the ship's systems the only sound. Despite the calm, tension hung heavy in the air. Each of them knew the risks and the stakes. As they neared the station, the holographic map updated, revealing the massive structure looming ahead. Station 47 was a fortress of steel and light, its fuel reserves glowing like beacons in the void. Imperial ships patrolled its perimeter, their movements precise and unyielding. "Approaching comms range," May announced. Her fingers hovered over the controls. "Transmitting clearance codes now." The seconds stretched into an eternity as they waited for a response. Finally, a voice crackled over the comms. "Imperial Scout Vessel 317, you are cleared for docking. Proceed to Bay 12. May exhaled, her shoulders relaxing slightly. "We're in." "Good," Alex said, his voice steady. "Now comes the hard part." As the Phantom Blade drifted toward the station, its engines powered down to mimic a standard approach, Alex glanced at his team. "This is what we trained for. Let's show them what humanity can do." The docking clamps engaged with a metallic clang, and the Phantom Blade came to a halt. The SEALs donned their gear, their movements silent and efficient. "Ready?" Alex asked, his gaze sweeping over his team. Sophia tightened her grip on her weapon. "Always." The airlock hissed open, revealing the sterile, well-lit corridors of Station 47. Alex stepped forward, his voice low but resolute. "Let's move." The air within Station 47 was sterile, almost clinical, carrying the faint tang of recycled oxygen and machine oil. The corridors were silent, their polished surfaces gleaming under bright, artificial lighting. For Alex and his team, every step they took echoed ominously in their minds, even though their boots were designed to mute sound. "Keep it tight," Alex whispered into his comm, his voice low but firm. "Eyes open." The team moved in formation, each member scanning their assigned sectors. May carried the portable hacking rig, her every step deliberate. Sophia brought up the rear, her sharp eyes constantly flicking between the team and the shadows behind them. Tank was in the middle, his hulking frame a reassuring presence as he carried a bag of explosives. Their first objective was the station's primary communication hub. Disabling it would sever the Empire's ability to call for reinforcements, and buy them enough time to complete the mission. May led the way, her wrist-mounted scanner glowing faintly as it mapped their route. "2 guards up ahead," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the comm. The display on her scanner confirmed it. A patrol stationed at the next intersection. Alex raised a fist, signaling the team to halt. "Sophia," he said, his tone clipped. "You're up." Sophia nodded, slipping ahead like a wraith. Her movements were fluid, every step calculated. She pressed herself against the wall, peering around the corner. 2 Imperial soldiers stood by a door, their postures relaxed, their weapons slung lazily over their shoulders. Amateurs, Sophia thought grimly. She moved quickly, drawing her suppressed pistol. 2 precise shots whispered through the air, and the guards crumpled soundlessly. Sophia motioned for the team to follow, already dragging the bodies into an alcove. "Clear," she whispered. "Good work," Alex said, stepping past her. "May, get that door open." May knelt by the control panel, her hacking rig whirring softly as she connected it. Lines of code scrolled across her screen as she worked, her fingers flying over the keys. "This'll take a minute," she said, her voice steady despite the tension. Tank crouched beside her, his eyes scanning the corridor. "Better make it a fast minute." The sound of boots clanging on metal grated faintly in the distance. A new patrol making its rounds. Sophia tensed, raising her rifle. Alex motioned for silence, his hand hovering over his own weapon. "Almost there," May muttered. The door hissed open a second later, and the team slipped inside just as the patrol rounded the corner. The door sealed shut behind them, leaving only the faint hum of the communication hub's machinery. The room was large, its walls lined with servers that blinked and hummed in mechanical rhythm. A central console dominated the space, its interface glowing softly. "Tank, set the charges," Alex ordered. "May, lock them out of this system." "On it," May said, already at the console. Tank moved to the servers, carefully placing the explosive charges, his hands steady despite the danger. This'll fry their calms for weeks, Tank said with a grim smile, securing the final charge. Ain't nobody calling home from this mess. May stepped back from the console, her face lit by the glow of the screen. Systems locked. Even if they figure out what's happening, they won't regain control in time. Alex nodded. Good. Let's move. The second objective was the station's fuel depot. Taking it out would cripple Imperial fleet operations in the sector, forcing them to reroute and stretch their resources thin. But getting there wasn't going to be easy. The depot was in the lower levels, and the team had to navigate through heavily patrolled corridors to reach it. As they moved, the station began to stir. The guards they had avoided earlier had been discovered, and alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed along the walls, bathing the corridors in an ominous glow. Looks like they know we're here, Sophia said dryly, her weapon raised. Doesn't change the mission, Alex replied. Keep moving. They picked up the pace, their movements coordinated despite the rising tension. May's scanner guided them through back routes and maintenance shafts, avoiding the heaviest concentrations of guards. But the deeper they went, the harder it became to avoid detection. At one junction, they ran into a squad of Imperial soldiers. The air filled with the sharp cracks of gunfire as the SEALs engaged. Alex and Sophia moved with deadly precision, their shots finding their marks with ruthless efficiency. Tank provided cover, his heavy rifle roaring as it laid down suppressive fire. Push forward! Alex barked. We don't have time to get bogged down. The team fought their way through, leaving a trail of fallen enemies in their wake. When they finally reached the depot, they were greeted by the sight of massive fuel tanks stretching into the distance, their surfaces gleaming under the harsh lighting. Tank, you're up, Alex said. May, cover him. Tank moved quickly, planting charges on the largest fuel reserves. May watched his back, her weapon trained on the entrances. Sophia and Alex took up defensive positions, their eyes scanning for incoming threats. Charges set, Tank announced, stepping back from the final tank. This place is gonna light up like the 4th of July. Good, Alex said. Let's. The sound of approaching boots cut him off. A squad of heavily armed Imperial soldiers poured into the depot, their weapons blazing. The SEALs dove for cover, returning fire as the air filled with the deafening roar of battle. We're pinned! Sophia shouted, her voice strained as she fired at the advancing soldiers. Hold the line! Alex yelled. He glanced at Tank. Detonator ready? Ready, Tank confirmed, gripping the device tightly. Then we need to fight our way out before we blow this place sky high. The team moved as one, covering each other as they fought their way toward the exit. The Imperials pressed hard, their numbers overwhelming, but the SEALs were relentless. Each shot they fired was precise, each movement calculated. As they reached the corridor leading back to the Phantom Blade, Alex turned to Tank. Do it! Tank pressed the detonator, and the depot erupted in a massive explosion. The shockwave tore through the station, the flames consuming everything in their path. The team sprinted down the corridor, the heat and force of the blast licking at their heels. When they finally reached the docking bay, the Phantom Blade was waiting, its engines powered up and ready to go. The team boarded quickly, and May took the helm, piloting the ship out of the station as alarms blared and chaos reigned. As they cleared the station, Alex looked back at the burning wreckage, his expression grim but resolute. One victory, he said quietly. But the war's just beginning. Sophia stepped up beside him, her face streaked with sweat and grime. They'll come after us harder now. Let them, Alex said, his voice steady. We've got more fight in us than they'll ever see coming. The Phantom Blade disappeared into the void, leaving the Empire to face the smoldering consequences of underestimating humanity.